Carolina on the ride. Carolina on the rise.
Welcome everybody to the Panther Prowl. This is once again Bill Mack. I am glad to be able to join you, Panther Nation, Panther fans, as I bring you another Panthers video. Sorry it has been a while with the season ending and not a lot going on. We hit the off season now, and as the off season happens and getting into the draft and the combine, which they're getting ready to start that up, I'm going to start bringing you hopefully weekly videos. It's like I said, I'm trying to do more of a podcast style rather than just typically showing my picture and stuff. My while I'm talking, I'll do this podcast for you. I hope you like and enjoy it. If you do, just feel free to subscribe if you haven't, and hope you enjoy the video. But we got a few things on the docket here I'd like to discuss and bring up. What's happened since we last chatted, really the important things, as I will go down and talk a little bit about them, give my thoughts and opinions on the upcoming Panthers season. We've seen at February the 22nd of this year, the Panthers ended up taking the interim tag off of Marty Hurney, making him the official GM of the Panthers. He had been going through. He had took over last year in the interim basis as the Panthers had basically fired David Gettleman. Gettleman, of course, in the offseason was rehired by the New York Giants as their GM. Hurney had been working through the season as supposed to help trying to to keep the Panthers on beat with things and supposedly to find a new GM. But to me, with Richardson, his relationship with Hurney, to me, I thought that more likely that with Hurney's mistakes, I thought that they were probably going to get a new GM. But Richardson's relationship with Hurney meant a lot more. The Panthers were going to do this announcement a few weeks ago, but they ended up having to put it on hold because Marty Hurney's ex-wife, she had put this kind of a temporary restraining order and harassment. She accused Hurney of this. So while they were going through the process of finding and interviewing candidates for the GM job, from my standpoint as being a Panther fan looking, I thought maybe Dawson, the executive from Buffalo, was in the lead because he was the only candidate that was given a second interview, and I thought they were going a different route because Hurney really caused the Panthers financial problems. So when Gettleman took over, it took him 2 years or 3 years to try to get our salary cap bill because the problem with Hurney was that Hurney loved the veterans. He was giving them these fat contracts, and the Panther and those players just weren't performing up to their abilities to what their contract states. So Hurney claims that, look, he said, I've learned from my mistakes before. I understand you can't fall in love with veterans. You got to do what's best for the team, the analytics and all, and statistics and whatnot when it comes to dealing with the salary cap. So on the 22nd, they officially lifted the interim tag. He is now the GM. Like I said, were going to announce this a few weeks ago. But since the NFL, even though that the wife ended up, there was no basis for these accusations. The NFL, of course, with situations with domestic violence and things of this nature, the NFL likes to conduct their own investigation, which had lasted up to a couple of weeks, and they found that there was no violation under the league's personal conduct policy, that there wouldn't be anything wrong, that Hurney did no wrong. This paved the way for the Panthers, of course, to officially make him the GM. So Hurney is back. He is the permanent GM. Now, will this remain in cause when the new ownership? That remains to be seen. But we'll just have to wait and see whenever new ownership takes over and how they feel. But he would be a good transitional GM, if nothing else, for new management to come in, as he has had a handle and a time with getting this team and having this team put together. Up next, our little docket here, talk about on February the 26th, a couple days ago, The Panthers ended up taking Matt Khalil's option bonus and ended up giving him a $10 million signing bonus. Now, this was good in the fact that had this signing bonus whenever someone gets injured or they get suspended or anything like that, this money will allow the Panthers to easily recover it more if he gets suspended, excuse me, not injured, but if he is suspended or retires. Carolina signed him to that awful contract last offseason at 5 years and $55.5 million. He has not so far lived up his contract. We looked at Pro Football Focus, and Pro Football Focus, which gives grades of positions, gave Khalil a grade of 50.8 this season at his position, ranking him 55th among tackles. That's really saying something. We as Panther fans were kind of sketchy about it. It was nice to have the Khalil brothers, but as we have seen this past year, Khalil was one of the worst in the league at his position in the league. So basically, he so far, unless something happens in this off season, we're going to have no choice. We can't cut him. He's too big of a hit. I just hope that he improves this coming season for more than what he did this past season in his play. But 55th from among tackles, and I just think it was a bust with him. I was skeptical when they signed him, but I was in hope and optimistic that, hey, maybe with the Panthers line, because we have one of the best line coaches in the NFL or in our line, that he would somehow get his act in order, but he still just showed why he has that name attached to him with his play this past season. Also, the 26th was a busy day as the Panthers got younger, and they cleared basically nearly $6 million in cap space. And how they done that? They, of course, released a couple of their veterans, releasing the 31-year-old Charles Johnson, defensive end, who signed basically a 2-year contract extension last season worth $9.5 million. Now, by them cutting him, they cleared at least $3.25 million in cap space, and this is a good thing. Charles, got that fat contract from Hurney, which really kind of led to Hurney's downfall in the beginning and what really people were looking like at him for making the kind of deals that he was. It was his big contract, but then, he opted out and they signed him for much less, he had basically taken a discount the last seasons, and so they signed him to a 2-year. And I think this is a good idea. The Panthers are in need of getting young. Offensive line, defensive line. They're the second oldest team in the league when it comes to average age. We see that, and also too, we see that not along with Charles Johnson, we have safety Kurt Coleman, which I was a big fan of Coleman's. Coleman had a really big impact the season before last. Last season, not as much. As the secondary had the fewest or one of the fewest interceptions in the league the whole season, and Coleman wasn't just what he was. Now, he was a hard hitter. He and Johnson both were good leaders in the locker room and at their position. But when it come down to it, Coleman was going to turn 30 in July, and he was scheduled to count $5.1 million against the cap. Releasing him basically clears up $2.65 million. So nearly $6 million in these two. I really appreciate the effort that Kurt Coleman has done. I'm hoping that Worley and Bradbury and all those guys basically have learned from Coleman and his leadership and mentorship to those guys, and that secondary will hopefully not go unnoticed. And I really wish Coleman and wish Charles Johnson the very best in whatever they choose to do. Now, on February 28th, Hurney releases a statement, and people are thinking, well, cap space, this is why he's doing this is why he's released the ones that he's released. And he is quoted as saying this. Hurney says, a lot of people this time of year, whenever decisions are made, they always want to go to the salary cap. Hurney told ESPN.com by phone from the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. He said, really, It's a matter of trying to make decisions where you've got to continue to get better. Part of getting better is getting other players reps to improve individually so they can help improve our team. They're not always about the individual as much as they are the bigger overall picture. Now, I agree with that. I feel like the Panthers are in need the next few years to suddenly grow younger. I know it's good to have a veteran from time to time, but you don't want to have veterans all over the place and have an older team, because then you're at some point you have to have a good mixture between veterans and those that's coming up. And like you stated with those getting reps, it is going to be time. You look at Vernon Butler. Vernon Butler did okay. He is not played up to the first round that pick that the Panthers made him as a choice. You know, he's behind some very talented guys. You know, Moten, he's in there. Darrell Williams, he's played really well. You know, we've got two free agents, Norwell, and I think it's Tulele, who are on the block. And I know the Panthers aren't going to have enough of cap space, because by clearing them up, and also you know, so far it's up to around $26 million in cap space the Panthers have. So they're not going to have a whole lot to make any kind of splashes, which the Panthers don't do that anyway. They've never really made big splashes in free agency. They've always tried to pay, you know, get parts of the puzzle and pieces and parts of the together at good, decent prices, and hopefully that works. They've never really made big splashes in free agency since I can remember. But it is a good idea to give these younger guys a chance to fill in. They're going to have no choice. Sometimes you have the luxury of having a good player in there and having a young one to come in behind them and to sit and watch and gather knowledge. But then it comes to a time to where you have to really put them in there, and they have to take those reps. They have to take those hits. They have to show you whether they're going to be able to be something, contribute, or they're just going to be someone that's basically a bust, or someone that's not going to be regulated no more than a backup. But when you draft them high, your expectations of that player is going to be worthy of the draft pick in which you've picked them. Like I said, Vernon Butler, hopefully he shows that this upcoming season, and he gets more reps and is the player that the Panthers chose in the first round. So, and this was late breaking here just a few minutes ago as I was getting this video together. The Panthers have now released veteran running back Jonathan Stewart. Stewart, of course, you know, has spent his entire 10-year career with Carolina. He's Carolina Panthers all-time leading rusher. He had about a year left on his contract. You know, Stewart had a total of 7,318 rushing yards on almost 1,700 carries. The Panthers, by doing this, save another $3.7 million by releasing him this offseason. So we have a total of $9.7 million added on to the $20 million we had. So we've got about almost $30 million, which frees it up now. That's good for us. Like I said, we're not going to be able to make big splashes. You know, Andrew Norvell has really been an awesome attack for us. He has been the best at his position. He's the only tackle in the league not to get a penalty last season. He did his job, and you know he's coming off his rookie contract. But the Panthers are hoping to resign him. I'm hoping they resign him. We need to resign him over to keep him over and with the Panthers and maintain a stable O-line, because that's one of the needs that we're going to have to address in the draft as well. You know, and maybe in free agency if you can find a nice pickup. But I just feel as if, you know, it's going to happen. But yes, Stewart was, you know, a Panther favorite. I enjoyed Stewart. Stewart was a hard runner, a downhill runner, and you know that of course his role had diminished over the seasons. Of course, with the addition of Christian McCaffrey last year, we saw his role kind of, you know, basically go down. He was the second leading rusher behind Cam for the Panthers. But it is good to see him, hopefully he can retire a Panther. He was going to retire at the end of the contract anyway, but by freeing up space, they needed to, this space was important, so hopefully if he does play, or hopefully if he does retire, he'll retire a Panther. So, wish all the best to Jonathan Stewart in what he does after this. And just to catch a little bit fans up, of course, this is no surprise. Jerry Richardson at the end of the season put the Panthers up for someone to purchase them, and he's giving that up amongst workplace workplace handlings and misconduct. And of course, he made Tina Becker head over to the Panthers. He took away from it and agreed to put the Panthers up for sale. And of course, the start process should start sometime in March, hopefully ending in May with the owners' meetings. I'd love to have the new owner in place to be able to go for the draft and whatnot. But we have two so far. There's been inklings of a few different groups that have tried to join together. We have the group by Felix Sabatas and hopefully Bruton Smith, and a few NASCAR drivers. Kid Rock, we've heard him mentioned in a group. We heard early on Puff Daddy, along with Steph Curry, was another trying to spearhead another group, along with Colin Kaepernick, wanting to particularly get that join in to be a investor group as to going against the to try to purchase the Panthers. But these two candidates that they're talking about so far are the only viable, what they call viable, as far as revenue wise and having the money to do it. These two guys, the Panthers are basically valued right now with Forbes magazine at $2.3 billion. They could be sold for more than that or less. Just depends on the whether there's a lot of legitimate buyers, that will drive up the price. But as of right now, there's only two bidders. One so far serious is David Tepper and Ben Navarro. Now, Tepper, of course, he's a minority owner in the Pittsburgh Steelers. He, of course, has 5%. He owns 5% of the Steelers, and he, of course, have to sell that in order to do it. But he appears the most solid in terms of having the capital to put up the required 30% of the selling price. 30% is one. In order to buy a team, you have to have a 30% stake and be the majority owner. And he's the one that has that. If the team were to sell for 2.3, he would have to put up $690 million, up front. Tepper, of course, is a founder of a global hedge fund firm, Appaloosa Management, and their net worth is around $11 billion according to Forbes. So we will see how he's going to do. And the other is Ben Navarro. Of course, he is a founder of a Charleston, South Carolina based Sherman Financial Group, and this, of course, was first reported by the Charlotte Observer, as he has a net worth of $3 billion. But ESPN said his assets are liquid enough to satisfy the 30% outlay, in which he has. So it's still early on. The process should start sometime in March. So this is the last day of February. And so we will look to see how that process starts, see what serious bidders are in there. We've seen a lot of people. I have seen over the course of the past few months in the off season of some guys that have basically looked as potential buyers of the Panthers and owners of the Panthers. It remains to be seen, but we shall see. So that's basically what's happened so far. As like I said, we are going into the NFL combine. They're going to go through and see basically what happens. It'll probably be after that. I'll bring another video later on as things get closer to maybe the draft, or if any other news from the Panthers. Whenever Panthers news comes out, I'll try to gather enough and give you an update on what's going on there. But I hope you folks all enjoyed the video. Panther Nation, if you do, drop a like on this video. Subscribe to my channel. If you have a comment, drop the comment and of course below, and I will read it and reply back to you. Hope you all enjoyed it. Sorry it's been a while. Like I said, there's a little bit of slack here with the news, but it's starting to heat up now as the off season starts heating up. So I look forward to bringing you more videos, and of course bringing you another Panther Prowl, Panther Nation season coming up here, and I will get into that with another video. So this is Bill Mack here with the Panther Prowl, thanking everybody for tuning in, and of course until next time, This is Bill Mack with the Panther Prowl saying, keep pounding.